Welcome back to our video. From where we left the last game, we can see that we can start the game and the cat can move left and he can move right, but also if we move all the way to the right hand side, we can see that the background changes, and we also have an apple which we hid. So if I can show here, it pops up. What I want to do is I want to make our little environment here a little more of a game. I can move around, but there's no real goal here. So what I want is I want the cat to collect the apples. The first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to test this. Here's my apple here, here's my cat. If any key is pressed, we're going to check to see if, I'm going to sensing, our current sprite. Now, the touching tag only refers to the sprite that we have. So if you've got lots of collectibles in your game, when we find a collectible, when we pick it up, it disappears. It's no longer in the game, so we need to make sure to remove it from there. So the first thing we're going to check to see is if our apple sprite is touching the cat. And if the apple sprite is touching the cat, it means that this has happened. They're overlapping slightly. And if it's going to be a collectible, I probably want to do something here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to looks, I'm going to scroll down here to hide. So now what happens is you can see I have this piece of code here, and this is applying to my apple sprite. If any key has been pressed, check is the apple sprite touching the cat. If it is, well, then we're going to hide it. So if you see it going here, and we get to here, and they're touching now, and the apple sprite disappears. So I have collected that pickup. So what I really want to do is I want to assign a score. I'm going to go back into my variables. I'm going to create a new variable called score. So when I pick up the apple, I am going to change my variable by 1. So I'm going to change my score by 1, and I am going to hide the apple afterwards. So let's test that now. But if I click start again, it brings the cat back to its starting point, but it does not do the apple. So what I need to do to make sure that the apple always appears is I'm going to say when the green flag is clicked, I want to make sure that you're showing my character or my sprite. So if I click it now, it picks it up. The other thing that you've noticed is my score now is at 2. If I collect it here, score's at 3. So my score is going up even though I started the game 3 times. So another thing I need to make sure is, and it doesn't matter whether you do it in the apple code or if you go to the cat code where they have where the green flag is set, but I also want to say when I start the game, set my score to 0. So I set my score to 0 every time I start the game, and when I pick up the apple, it sets it to 1. And for the code that we've written, that's all of the game that we have. What we're going to do is we're going to go back to our code, and we are going to add some code in here to randomize the position of the apple. So the apple doesn't appear in the same place. It doesn't appear at regular intervals, but whenever the cat touches it, it's a score. So it randomly appears at random time intervals. So somewhere between, let's say, 1 and 5 seconds, an apple will appear. It'll appear for a random amount of time, maybe 1 second, maybe 2 seconds, maybe 3 seconds, and then it'll disappear, and then wait for a little longer, and then reappear again, to make it just a little challenging for our player. And we can see here that our score is going to increment each time. So what I need to do is when the flag is clicked, I want to do a series of actions over and over and over again until the game's over. And for that I need something called a loop. So I'm going to go to my control, and I'm going to get the forever loop. if I start the game, I want to show the apple. I want to then start this check. And my check is going to be, I want to do a couple of things. I want to wait for a random time period, show my apple in a random location, and then remove the apple after a time period so that it makes it challenging for the player to get to the score. So for this, I am going to say, when the game starts, do a loop. That loop is going to say, so here, wait. We're going to wait, but we want to wait a random amount of time. So we go into our operators. We can see that we can pick a random here. So what this means is it will wait, it'll pick a number between 1 and 10, and it'll wait that many seconds before it goes on to the next action. And that number might be different each time we do this. Change that to 3 seconds. So somewhere between 1 and 3 seconds, we are going to show our apple, and then we are going to wait another time period. Make this a little bit easier, 4 seconds. And then we want to hide our apple. So now when I start it, you can see the apple. Oh, we need to start it. We need to start the game with the apple hidden. When I start, the apple's there, and it's going to disappear. And then it'll reappear. And then it'll disappear. It's not really a challenge of a game because the apple's always in the same place. So what I want to do now is I want to change the location of where my apple could be. The actions that I want to carry out is that I'm going to wait a random time period. I'm going to move the location of my apple on my X plane. I am going to show the apple for a random time period, and then I'm going to hide the apple. And then I'm going to make it reappear in a different location the next time round. So we are going to go to our motion. We are going to set X to be, I need this one. I also need my random number again, so set X to be a random number. But rather than between 1 and 10, which is very small space on our screen, I'm going to set it to be, for my cat over here, you can see that's minus 211, minus 95. So I'm going to say between minus 175 and positive 175. If I hit start again, you'll see that it's going to appear somewhere. And I get it. And the next time it appears, it's going to appear somewhere different. And the next time will be somewhere different again. So this video shows you how to add pickups, collectibles into your game. And when we touch the collectible, our score increases and the cat keeps on playing.